There are so many AI tools that you can use to build automations, and every week there seem to be more. It's very hard to pay attention and keep up with where everything is going, and it's super frustrating. So my goal with this video is to introduce you to a lasting stack that I've been using for the past years already, and that I highly recommend you to look into if you're serious about learning AI automation, and more particular if you want to get a job in the field. Because while all of these tools are great, I can guarantee you almost no job will list one of these tools as a requirement or prerequisite. They will list actually what's underneath that. Being able to understand how to build a backend, work with a database, a frontend, an AI layer, an infrastructure to deploy your solutions. Now that is a lot, but I am going to show you in this video the exact stack for each of these 5 components that I use. And this will also for you serve as a roadmap so that you can start working towards this. And at the end of this video, I'm going to share an entire project with you that I personally worked on. The entire code base for you to clone containing all of these 5 layers so you can reverse engineer it. Okay, so let's get into things. So quick intro about me. My name is Ebbelaar. I got both a bachelor's and a master's degree in AI. I've helped over 1 million developers get started with AI here on YouTube and my courses, building and scaling a 7-figure AI company. So I also know how to make money with this. That's both on education and custom software development. And over the years, I've also delivered 50 plus custom B2B AI solutions, starting as a freelancer, then later under an AI agency called Datalumina. I got quite an opinionated take on this roadmap, and there will probably be some people that don't agree with this stack. But over the years, I haven't found a single better stack to build AI automations across many companies, many different solutions than this one. Okay, so let's start talking about layer number 1, which is the backend. So this is really the engine behind your system, really the motor that ties everything together. So I already explained in the previous slide really that Python is my recommended language of choice. Now, if you're watching this video, there's a high chance you already know or worked with Python, right? But that is just the starting point. Python is this whole ecosystem that we use as the core, as the engine really, and we start to build around this. So what's going to be more interesting is if you make the switch from, let's say, using tools to a custom setup like this, and you're using the Python programming language, there are 2 more packages that I highly recommend for you to look into. So that is FastAPI and Celery. So let's go through all of this one by one. I'll give you some examples for you to understand what all of these mean, how they work together, to form one whole backend. So the Python programming language, this is just the starting point, right? We write code. This is what we use to execute it. If you have never worked with Python and you want to get into it, I have an entire 5-hour course for free here on YouTube. I will link it below for you to get into it. But this is really, if you want to get into AI automation, you want to do it seriously, you need to master Python. Okay, but now let's make that more specific. FastAPI is a library within the Python ecosystem that you can simply import as a package. FastAPI, you can use it to, as the name suggests, to create an API layer. And what this means is it becomes the entry point for your automations. This can either be via webhooks, talking to your front end, and FastAPI is just really great. If you wire up FastAPI correctly, you'll end up with something like this, where you get the get endpoints, post endpoints, put, delete, and this is how you communicate with your system. That is really what FastAPI allows us to do. Then here's another Python library, which is a little bit less known. It's called Celery. And Celery is great because you can use it to set up background workers. So while FastAPI can handle your incoming requests, you can hand off essentially slow work to a Celery worker to make sure job keeps running in the background. Now, you can use this to scale up your application to make it overall more robust. But what I also really like Celery for in the context of building even simple AI automations is that you can use it to schedule jobs. So you can essentially schedule and trigger cron jobs using the Python programming language. It's really the core engine of my own AI automation system that I use to run my company. FastAPI receives all of the webhooks that are trigger-based, and then Celery essentially manages all of the scheduled cron jobs via Celery tasks. So another library to get into on the backend layer. Then we get to layer number 2, that is the database. So storage, right? Every system, every automation needs some type of storage layer. And with this, Postgres is really all you need. Like literally, you don't have to worry about other databases, even if you're scaling. And probably for most of you watching, you won't get past a couple million records. That's already quite a substantial application, but most of you will never go past that. Postgres can handle it just fine. Instagram also scaled to hundreds of millions of users on just using Postgres. Now, what I personally like to do is I like to use Supabase, which is just essentially a wrapper around Postgres that simplifies a lot of things, especially around authentication. And it also just gives you a good admin dashboard GUI panel out of the box. Even if you want to store vectors, you can store vectors in Postgres as well. To get started, I recommend just checking out the cloud version of Supabase. You can go to supabase.com, create an account. You got a hosted Supabase. So here's what that looks like in the user interface. It's a simple PostgreSQL database. You can create all of your tables. They will show up in here. You can connect with Python to it to make the connection, and that's all you need. And then a quick break because there's something really exciting that I want to share with you, because this summer, some of the biggest AI creators are coming together for an event in Montenegro. We got people like Liam Otley, Nate Herc, of course, I will be there, as well as a whole bunch of other people and familiar faces that you may know from YouTube. This summer, Montenegro, we got an amazing lineup. So this will start July 29th. 3 days, and there are 2 types of packages. First is the full VIP experience where you get the full 3 days, and the other tickets that are available are the more affordable general access tickets for just the main event day with the presentations. So the first day, July 29th, is the VIP operator day. This is really, think of it like being in the boardroom with all of these AI creators for you to learn from, ask questions, network, really get insights and workshops into what's working. Then we got the main gathering, the main event day. Again, sharing more insights, presentations, sharing all of the cool things people are working on and the strategies that they are using right now. And then the third day is another VIP experience day with a private boat tour, private dinners, again with the whole VIP group. So earlier this year, we did a similar event in Cape Town, South Africa. It was completely sold out, and it was honestly one of the best events that I've ever been to. So if you don't want to miss out on this one, make sure to check out the first link in the description. Workless.ai will be really cool if you show up there. We get to connect and would love to meet you there. Okay, now let's get into layer number 3, the front-end layer. So this is the visual layer, right? So not all AI automations necessarily need a front-end layer, but if you want to create, I don't know, a dashboard, an admin panel, there needs to be something visual that you can go through. That's where we get into the front end. So combination of 3 things that I recommend. That is React, Vite, and ShadCN UI. Okay, so let's go over these and explain what they are. So React is probably the most well-known JavaScript library to build user interfaces via components. It's really the industry standard. Can't really go wrong with it. Plain React. Now, to turn that into an actual development server and web server, you can use Vite. So this is a tool that runs your app while you can build it, and you can package it and you can ship it. So beyond just like the React code, Vite helps you to turn it into an actual website that you can view in the browser. And now to give you a little bit of our secret sauce over here, what I really recommend everyone to use is the ShadCN UI component library. This is just amazing. And if you don't really have very distinct design specifications or you're working with a custom designer, then this is just literally all you need. What's great about ShadCN, let me just show you examples. It's a component library where you get pretty much all the components that you can think about that you would use in an application. Graphs, logins, buttons, menus, like all the stuff that you see here, plus way more, even entire chat interfaces for AI applications. It's all in there. And the beauty about ShadCN is that you can import those into your project. So rather than it being stored in your node modules and then being a dependency, you import that code into your project. So now it's there. So your AI agents, your coding agents can also start to work with it, can start to make adjustments to it. You can style it however you want. So you can, of course, color it. You can change the fonts. You can change the roundedness of buttons and corners and all of that. And this stacked together, so React, Vite, and ShadCN, is just amazing. So I'm a backend engineer by trade. I come from the data science world. I started with Python. And I can confidently say right now, just front-end code, just being a front-end developer, you're cooked. There's no value in that anymore. Again, there's probably people that disagree with me, but it is so easy with AI to build cool front ends like this. Now, one note on that, there is a difference between the actual exercise of creating the front end versus the design and the UX in an application, so the user experience. That is still something where AI lacks a little bit, but again, this is the context of creating AI automations, right? So most of these projects are going to be internal tools, simple admin dashboards, simple chat applications. So I'm not saying like AI solved design, definitely not, but just building simple front ends and internal tools for your AI automations. Like this is the stack, you can't go wrong with it. AI is super good with this. Okay. Let's get into the fourth layer. So this is the AI layer. So this is what makes the AI automation actually AI, right? Up until this point, it was just software engineering. So what do we got here? Well, nowadays we got different kinds of AI models, right? So we got, of course, the good old language models. We got the embedding models for RAG. We got vision models, speech to text, text to speech, image generation. Lots of models available. Cool thing is that nowadays we live in a day and age where all of this is just one API call away. So the whole like AI layer and component to most AI applications is very simple. Usually it's very simple. And that's also why a lot of the tools that are available, I say you don't really need them. Let's just use the layers that we have been using for decades, like literally decades. All of the techniques that I introduced have been out that long. And now all of a sudden that we need to have this like tiny little AI LLM call in there, we don't all of a sudden need a completely new stack or a completely new tool. So how do you use that in the real world? So you can of course go directly with OpenAI or Anthropic, but if you want to build some more serious applications, if you work in a company or as a freelancer, you'll likely going to want to use AI models for one of these providers, either through AWS, Azure, Google Cloud. So they have the more enterprise production ready endpoints, if you will. So billing is centrally managed. You have more data privacy controls. And also if you're scaling up with more requests, all of these providers have different ways of doing that. Now, some models will be available in some providers and some not. So it's always a little bit of like checking where you need to go in order to get the latest model that you want. But the nice thing about this is if you know how to make a direct API call to OpenAI, you also know how to use these tools because it's literally the same. So if you want to use Azure OpenAI, you go to azure.com, create an account, get your credentials, and you're good to go. So this is actually it's a very easy layer out of everything, pretty much the easiest to learn. So let's go to the final layer and then let's see how we can bring all of this together. So this is the infrastructure layer. So this is going to be the most complicated and the most foreign layer if you're coming from, or either if you're new to software development to engineering or if you're coming from these tools. This is definitely a little bit abstract, but nowadays with AI coding agents and with the tips that I'm going to give you, you can actually get quite far with this rather quickly. So this is the whole part of how do you take the code, everything, so the backend, the front end, how do you take all of that and deploy it so it actually becomes available, right? If you use something like N8N or Zapier, you're in the UI, you're in the browser, you make your automation, you hit save and it's there, it's working, right? But when we do things custom, this is the extra step that we need to do, we ship it. So the really industry standard way of doing this is first of all to use Docker. So if you have your different components, right? So your backend, your front end, you can separate those into different, you can set those up with Docker Compose or directly with Docker. In my example, I shared that you can use Supabase Cloud, right? So that's already hosted. You don't need to bother with that. But then you got essentially two deployments that you need to make. Now, if you're completely new to this, a platform like Railway makes this super easy. You can literally set up your backend. So this is Python with FastAPI, Celery. You wrap it up in Docker Compose, deploy it as a repository, and you literally can say to a coding agent like, okay, now help me deploy this on Railway. And it will go out and it will help you through that. Railway even got an MCP server to help you manage that. And you can do exactly the same for the front end. So that's the Vite server, right? And the React code around that. Okay, now let's create a deployment for my front end. And you set it up so that they talk to each other. Now, if you get a little bit more advanced in how you would actually do this in the real world or in a company, you would either use something like a container service from one of the big cloud providers, or you would use a VPS directly, so a virtual private machine where you deploy the solutions on. So again, you can use all of the big cloud providers, AWS, Azure, GCP. We, for the past 3 years, have actually used Hetzner for this. Really great German company that you can rent out a plain VPS and deploy your solutions on there. And that covers the all stack. Those are really the 5 layers that you need. You need a backend as your engine to process everything. You need a database to store everything. You potentially need a front end to visually make this available to a user. You, of course, need the AI models to add the intelligence to it. And you need a place to deploy all of this and make the entire system available as a whole. Now, I know this was a lot in a very short period of time. And if you're new to this, all of these terms may be like, okay, what is going on here? But I got something really cool for you. I have a video here on YouTube, a 4-hour live build of me building out this project, a document copilot. This is one of our most requested projects at our agency. A lot of companies just want a simple private internal chatbot that they can use with their own company data. And the cool thing is, here on YouTube in this 4-hour live build, I show you all the way from the start to the deployment how to build this application using the entire stack that I just shared with you. So if you're serious about AI automation and potentially want to get a career in this, move towards AI engineering, make sure to go watch this video next. It's a long one. Click on it, bookmark it, so you can come back to it. You won't regret it.